Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We have a great panel of real estate professionals on hand to share their perspectives on the evolving nature of the client relationship in real estate. Advances in technology and shifting market are among a number of the top contributors to a changing client relationship. At the same time, with this change has come some new opportunities that we're going to discuss today. The community that a real estate professional operates has always been part of a quality connection with clients, and today, the value of that connection with local establishments and facilities goes further than ever before to meet the quality of information-based client experiences that today's home market seeks. We're going to be getting into some specific examples of how this connection with the community and information being maximized by real estate professionals use 3D reality capture as part of their most valuable customer experience. So what you see in front of you is today's agenda. We're going to introduce our panelists today. We're going to talk about today's real estate relationship, discuss some events and unlocking some community connections that the folks on the call today have uncovered. We're going to demonstrate some immersive client experiences that they've captured and talk about some building opportunities that will help your business. And at the end, we'll get into some questions and answers. So in the GoToWebinar dialog box down at the bottom, you'll see an opportunity to in chat to put in your questions. So if you would put your questions in there, we'll have them all answered for you at the end. So with that, let's begin by introducing today's panelists. The first introduction that I would like to make is Charles Nitschke. He's the CIO of Sotheby's Tomlinson Group. Say hello, Charles, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. I'm part of the Greater Tomlinson Group, which is actually 800 plus agents, 3 brands, 2 states. But for the last year, I've specifically been focusing on the Sotheby's division of the Tomlinson Group and working on what's going to be kind of the next generation of best practices for us, which has very much been bringing Matterport to market, bringing video to market, bringing curated search to market. So trying to give the consumer an experience that they can't get on Zillow, Trulia, or realtor.com has been my biggest push.
Excellent. And also welcome Lisa Larkin. She's the broker for Remax Select. Lisa, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and I've been using Matterport for 3 or 4 years. I think we got started when it was introduced as a luxury product, but it's so much more than that, and I'm excited to be here today to talk about it. But I am, in addition to being designated broker, I'm a partner in the company, an owner, a team leader. I have a luxury designation, CLHMS and CRS.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming today, Lisa, and I'm really excited to hear about some of the things that you've done recently. Also joining us is Jay Acker. He runs the Real Estate by Design group. So Jay, say hello.
Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm Jay Acker. I am based in Dallas, Fort Worth. That's our hub location. I'm sorry, Worth Keller Williams Realty. Should have mentioned that at the beginning. We've also got an expansion location in San Antonio, Texas, and the focus of our business is 95% residential, but we do, handle a little bit of commercial here and there as well. And I'm sure we're going to talk a bit about that as we continue through the slides.
Excellent. And our next panelist is Greg Youngblood. Greg, welcome. He's the director of product for Matterport, and you guys are doing some great stuff. Appreciate you being here today.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I spend a lot of time talking with agents. I have for the last 6 years, having been in prop tech in Silicon Valley for the last 6 years. And my role here at Matterport is just to make sure that we talk about our technology in a way that makes sense to agents and brokers, but also to do a lot of listening and make sure that we're building the things that are important to our agent broker customers.
Awesome, and I'm Victor Lund. I'm your host today for the panel. I'm the founding partner of Wave Group and also the chief executive officer of RE Technology. All right, so let's just jump right in here. Probably the best way to begin this conversation is with a little context. Going right back to you, Gregory, can you help us understand a little bit better what Matterport is and the immersive experience it creates? Gregory?
Okay, Victor, sorry, that was a mute problem.
Okay.
My bad. Sorry to keep everybody in suspense there.
I was like, oh, the
Yeah,
deafening silence.
yeah, I know. I think you asked me what is Matterport up to,
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people know a little bit about Matterport, but just for the unwed, why don't you just talk a little bit about the company?
yeah, we have a very simple mission. It is to create a digital twin for every built space on the planet. And from our best count, there's about 4 billion built spaces, which is a building basically, um, in the world. And with a digital twin, you can really reduce the inefficiencies of dealing with the built world. So if you are managing, commercial building, or if you are building any kind of building, marketing, renting, estimating work on any kind of built space, a digital twin can actually reduce the inefficiencies in all of those phases of a building's life cycle. And not only, yeah, that's the slide right there. Not only does it reduce the inefficiencies of working with the built space, but there's also a huge amount of data that's generated that can be then fed back into real estate franchises so they can understand the data on the type of built spaces that they're working with. So again, our goal is very simply to create a digital twin for every building on the planet, and then provide the tools that to bring value to that. So in the group, the focus that we're talking today, it's in the promotion value, the marketing value, and how can you bring an immersive experience for a worldwide set of buyers? How do you give them an emotional, immersive experience of a home even when they're halfway across the globe? And that's what the Matterport technology does in the real estate space.
Excellent. So now, I mean, I think this is a new term, the digital twin, and thank you for giving us a little bit of an opportunity to understand that concept. Can we talk a little bit about how the client relationship itself evolves with these digital twins, and how the dynamic is a little different today than just a few years ago, and most importantly, how real estate agents can keep up? There's some really good data that has recently been published that talks about what what the process is of home buyers as they go through the marketplace today. And probably the thing that has been most astounding is the number of homes that they're taking a look at before going out and actually visiting those homes and making an offer of those homes. And I think that this behavior change has created some really interesting opportunities for the industry, and puts into perspective and quantifies what we generally understand. I mean, today's home market begins online, and then as they narrow their interest, they begin to work personally with an agent in the field to go about the process of finding a home. How does today's real estate professional fit into this process and offer a better service to their clients? As you start to dig into a little more of the personas that real estate buyers are, you begin to see that ever more we're dealing with a younger and younger audience, and this audience is pretty different. I mean, there's been an enormous amount of information shared about how youth of today have differentiated their search experience from most real estate agents who are in their 50s and 60s, and it's pretty important to understand this process, to sort of get grounded and centered around the types of information that they're looking forward to. Let's go on to the next slide, and I want to talk about the primary focus of this discussion, which is how community connections and events and add to the client experience and reinvent the way real estate professionals reach the home market. Many of the items listed here won't come as a surprise to anybody. They all play into how real estate businesses reach their market. And we can see how this complete experience can really do a good job of gathering in the types of clients that you're looking for in your marketing and communications out to this group. One of the things that we're really excited to learn more about is something that was done by Remax Select. They actually created a website called TucsonThreeDtours.com to really collect in all of their Matterport tours. And this is not only fun for consumers where they can go and see all the tours, but it acts as a repository for agents throughout the firm to be able to grab this content and use it in their marketing communications. We'll go on to the next slide. So let's start with an important aspect of the client relationship. Naturally, it constitutes the first step in that relationship is really about lead gen and the events and engagements that result that create lead gen strategy and how you can create passive business for it. So let's just jump in and find out. I'm going to go to the next slide. So we have some pretty cool examples here from Denton County, and one of our panelists today is going to talk about that. But can you just share with us a little bit about how these events that you're communicating into the marketplace have introduced lead gen into your business?
Yeah, so literally our sphere business, this is Jay, by the way, I'm sorry. Our sphere business and our community involvement business has increased by about 25% over the last 4 years. And a lot of that is because we've been directly involved through these types of events, and they could be very small, very large. You know, ultimately, we're all in the business of just having conversations with people. What we do with those conversations and the information that comes from them is what determines whether we succeed or fail at real estate ultimately. But the more we're out in front of people on any sort of level, is going to benefit us ultimately down the end, because it's, you know, it's a long play for sure. A lot of times when we go to these events, people have the misconception that they're going to walk away with 5 leads that want to get their home listed next week. It's all about nurturing those relationships. It's about having a reason to follow up and stay in front. And these community events allow us to get the information from those folks to have those conversations down the road. So when we do have a person that's interested in selling or buying in the future, we're potentially going to be top of mind when that comes around.
And so how are you engaged? How is this how is this content engaging the consumer? I mean, it's pretty obvious on the front, but you said that you're getting how many leads from this type of publication?
Well, it just depends. So we just had a national night out for one of the target markets in our farm area, and that was about 3.5 weeks ago. We walked away from there with 18 potential leads, buy or sell leads, and that was very little involvement on our part. We helped get everything set up with the HOA. I sat there and flipped burgers and dogs for 3 hours while a couple of people on our team were handing out tchotchkes. And we have enter to win a $100 gift card. And by the way, your entry form, if you're doing it online, it automatically plugs straight into your database, which is a great idea. But if you've just got pen and paper, that does just as well. We're gathering names, phone numbers, email addresses, and physical addresses on these forms. And again, all these people are being plugged straight into our database, but you'll be surprised how many people will come and sign up for that for a $100 gift card. So, I mean, hard cost for that entire event for us was about $150. I mean, very, very cheap. And we're getting FaceTime in 3-4 hours in front of these people, just having small talk conversations.
So you're deploying this on social media, direct email, and then in person, right?
Yeah, and I think we're going to talk about something here in the next few slides, but these target neighborhoods that are in our farm area, we go ahead and create Facebook pages for those areas. And a lot of them will have one that's driven by the HOA, and it's not so social in terms of the engagement involved. But what we do is, we'll have one, for example, Sundown Ranch, which is one of the neighborhoods right here in our backyard. And we own the Facebook page for it. And it's not a solicitation page. It's not something where we just shove real estate down people's throats. Think of it on a smaller scale as like a Nextdoor.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets a ton of engagement, whether it's a lost dog or garage sales, or we're going out and reminding people when the next HOA meeting is. We're driving that whole process and we're watching it. So we've got our notifications turned on. And when somebody chimes in and says, hey, does anybody know a good realtor? We're thinking about selling. I'm reaching out to them immediately.
Oh, that's excellent. So one of the things that you did, I'm guessing last month, was a Day of the Dead festival. You want to talk about what your strategy was here and how it was deployed?
Yeah, so our hub office is located in Denton, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas-Fort Worth. We do service the entire area, by the way, but it's a really, really heavy community involvement in this community. It's really niche. It's a very proud community, and they really come out for their civic festivities, whatever that might be. Day of the Dead, this is the 3rd year in a row that we've done this, and we've got local businesses and 60 teams involved, each build their own coffin, and it's a huge production. We've got a pit road set up with all the tents and the cars, and people are coming by and talking. I want to take pictures of their kids in our cars. And again, we'll give away a couple $100 Visa gift cards, and we've got hundreds of people who are entering to get these things. And we walk away from these events with great relationships, and at the very least, we've got a ton of database entries.
Yeah, it's there's these car races happen in the summer here. They're not related to coffins, but our 4th of July festival, and it's amazing the amount of the community turnout for these and the engagement of families and kids. It's just it's an exquisite place to be marketing
Yeah,
yourself.
and I think this last one we had, I think we had 9,000 people there for it. So
Wow,
it's very, very well attended, and it's a lot of fun.
that's great. So let's move on. So I think that some of the takeaways from this that you're finding is these active events, is the idea of becoming a digital mayor for the community and really driving community engagement as a company, and the opportunity to co-brand and co-market yourself, and drive traffic to your website. I mean, it's pretty awesome that you're driving 22 referrals from a single event like that. It's amazing what happens when you get out within a group in your community just to do something that's completely asymmetrical to real estate, only to find people walking up to you telling you about all their friends that are thinking about buying or selling.
Yeah, and it surprises you how often it happens. And I think our biggest flaw as realtors is just not asking. We
So,
expect people to passively come up to us and say, "Hey, I know 3 people that want to buy or sell a house. Why don't we do something to engage them in that conversation and ask during the conversation?"
that's brilliant. I know that one of the things that was remarkable to me as we prepared for this webinar was how you guys are starting to use content capture with Matterport to engage local businesses and really becoming a B2B business ambassador as well. So if we can just talk about a little bit about some examples of how you've used your Matterport tours to capture some local facilities and businesses and do some co-marketing and co-branding. Um,
Yeah. So
to really
the most recent one we did was a couple of weeks ago, and it was for the Welcome to Denton Center, which is essentially a storefront right on our town square.
uh,
Um, and we'll do several, and we're going to do a whole lot more of these, by the way, but highlight local businesses, especially brand new businesses that are coming to town, but highlight other things. For example, we had a children's museum here in Denton that opened up about 18 months ago, and it was the talk of the town for 6 months leading up to it. These people will jump at the opportunity to be highlighted in one of your spotlights. So we approached the folks who were starting this children's museum, said, "Hey, we want to come in, interview you, ask you some questions, do a 3D tour of your property, and give you some marketing material to get that out there, and we're going to cross promote it with you." And they came in off hours to do that with us. Every business will come in off hours to do that with you because it's more advertising for themselves. So it's a great way, especially when you're talking about things like a welcome center or a children's museum, or any community center, if you will. If you've got a rec center or something like that, where people are really involved in things like that. Even a local animal shelter is another one we'll do. People care about stuff like that. When you're not so much going into a sub shop, although people will click on it, share it, which is ultimately what you want. But the bigger key in all this is how you market it. And it's not just creating a post and throwing it on Facebook. It's generally creating it through a blog post that hooks people in and gets them back into your website.
yeah, I'm imagining that they're embedding these tours as a cornerstone of their digital content strategy as well. I mean, it's pretty unusual. By the way, your welcome center is like 100 times better than ours. Ours, you go in and you just see a bunch of flyers of stupid tours around town.
Yeah, ours is great.
Yeah, it actually, yeah, I love all the T-shirts and things like that they do, and I can imagine how this really helps them a lot, and it's a great benefit to your business. Let's
Yeah,
move
and they're
on to the
usually
next.
up to the homepage of their website as well.
So one of the things that Matterport has done and is develop a couple of tools that allow you to go in and do scans of these spaces and give people an opportunity to play around with the information a little bit more than you would see than you've maybe seen in other Matterport tours. So can we talk about a couple of these tools, Gregory? You're the product expert. Can you talk about measurements and matter tags? These are two pretty awesome features that a lot of people aren't using in Matterport tours.
Yes, definitely. So the measurement feature is one that we're really excited about. It actually is being announced today at a trade show. And what this does is allows anybody who sees a Matterport model say they see it on realtor.com or on the broker's website, and they go into the model, they can now click on the button for measurement mode and measure anything in the model. So you can go in and say, wow, you know, I like this house. I wonder if our grand piano will fit into the family room. I wonder if the king size bed will fit through the doorway. And so you can actually go in and measure the size of the doorways. You can measure the size of the family room. You could measure the length of a counter, really anything in the model. And so what this does is, if you've got a Matterport tool in your model, it's now a tool for people to engage more deeply with your listings. And that's really important to getting them interested and pre-vetting themselves about relative to whether the house is a fit for them. So they're going to engage more in your listings when you've got a Matterport model because of this measurement tool. The other way to use measurements is you can go into one of your own models that you've created. And if you've got a client that you know has a long sectional sofa or has asked questions about the size of things, you can go in and make those measurements and then send them the model, and the measurements are pre-populated in there. For you, this is an engagement tool with your client. It gives your client reassurance that you're thinking about them, that you've got the tools and technology to help them think through homes. It really puts you in a good light. So that's the measurement tool and the two different ways that it can be used. Matter tags they're basically an annotation tool. You can go into the model and place a tag anywhere in the three-dimensional space. And so you can talk about, look at the mahogany floors, and you can point those out. Look at the Wolf stove, and you can put a little tag that in the model highlights that. And in that tag, you can put links, or you can just put text or pictures. Really any kind of media you can put into that matter tag. Again, this is another engagement tool with your either buying or selling clients. On the buying side, you can highlight things that are interesting to your client. On the selling side, you can go and annotate the whole home so that anybody who looks at that model really gets not only an immersive visual experience, but they get also an informational experience as well that's highly contextual. So that's the matter tags feature. So both of those are good examples of us continuing to come out with new features, new technology that give you new ways to use the 3D model.
So Lisa, you're using the measurement tool to collect the room dimensions, I think you said. Can you want to talk a little bit about that, for how you're using this tool to help with your listing input for your MLS?
Yes, we order floor plans from every scan, and we remove the total square footage because it's interior square footage, and our appraisers use exterior, but every single room shows the room dimensions, and the clients love that. And when we print flyers or order brochures for a property, we always include the layout of the home with all of the room dimensions. And our MLS doesn't require room dimensions, so this is particularly a nice feature for people. Our listings stand out from everyone else's, and really what we're trying to do here is differentiate ourselves from the herd, and we have a little bit higher quality in what we produce and what we offer to our clients. And of course, it's a great listing tool.
Yeah, no, it's exceptional. Well, let's dive in and look at some other ways that the matter tags and measurements tools are being used. So this is an example of scans done with community schools. So I think you're aware that a lot of real estate companies, if you go to their website, they either link to greatschools.org or have some kind of school solution which gives you demographic information and things like that about the local schools. But this is significantly different and really engages the school community. Pretty extraordinary. Charles, can you talk about what inspired you to do this and how you're using it?
Yeah, so essentially the way that we got into schools is one of the financial backers within our company had donated $25 million to Gonzaga to build a building. So we had a pretty compelling reason to get in there and capture the building. But what I found in getting out and working with, especially the colleges, is that they're tremendously interested in being able to show off their space to attract students, to be able to walk the parents of students through the facility, get comfortable with the facility before they start traveling to narrow down their final school selection. And so after shooting this Rosar Center at Gonzaga University, we started a conversation with North Idaho College. Next summer, when they're in their downtime, we're going to be shooting their athletics department first, and then potentially scale that out into the dormitories, into the classroom environments, with the long-term goal of capturing the entire college as a digital twin, which is just a phenomenal tool to connect. The only places that you're going to be able to find that is on the college's website and on our real estate website. It's a big part of becoming that digital mayor, becoming that tour guide for the community. And so we've started out in academia with the community colleges, universities. We've expanded into places of worship. We shot a 60,000 square foot church, and then also a 60,000 square foot athletics annex that was part of that church, that in shooting that then connected us to the city of Post Falls, who has a use agreement for that space. When we're in there shooting it, we had to jostle the schedule around because they were doing a number of high school graduations in that facility. And so I'm finding the more that we get involved in these community spaces that are incredibly important to how and why and where people choose to live, the relationships start to build on one another, to where shooting this facility ends up leading to an introduction to somebody to shoot another facility. And so we're kind of growing just very, very naturally through collecting these spaces.
Yeah, my daughter's a senior in high school, and we're going through the college app program right now, and I think she's applying to 20 schools. And we tried to go and visit a number of these schools over the summer, but you can't get to all of them. And one of the things that I was thinking about is, there's a big difference between out-of-state tuition and in-state tuition. And if my daughter chooses to go out of state, there's pretty significant advantage to maybe purchasing a property there while she's in school to get that in-state tuition and defer some of the costs of going to college. So it's a really nice way to passively introduce yourself to people like me who might be going through that process. Now, Lisa, if we just go to the next one, you did something really cool. You want to just tell us how you connected with this art gallery and how you're leveraging the scans that you took here to grow your business and your referrals?
Sure. Diana Medeiros is a very famous artist in Tucson. She is the queen marketer, and everybody knows who she is. She's in the airport when you get off the plane, and you'll find her prints in people's homes all over town and all kinds of businesses, and she really knows how to get her name out there. So years ago, we decided we'd like to co-brand with her, and we started doing client appreciation events at her office at Christmas time, and we licensed some of her art on our marketing materials as well. So when we discovered Matterport, we thought, what a great idea. She just bought this new building, and people didn't really know that she had moved, and we thought, why don't we offer to shoot it for her and allow her to put it on her website? And at the same time, we put it on our website, and we created a relocation tab on our website for people new to Tucson, for buyers and relocation, so they could see different businesses and different places around town that they might want to visit. And actually, we just reshot this today because the artwork changes, and I just got the scan back. So she loves it. She actually reached out to me and asked me if we could redo it. And on December 1st, we're having another party there. So it's a really nice relationship, and our clients absolutely love it.
So one of the things that's talked about a lot in today's modern marketing is influencer marketing. And clearly you've connected with somebody who's an influencer in the community. You're delivering something of tremendous value to her that helps her communicate what she's offering to her clients. And in doing so, I can't imagine her referring her friends to any other real estate company other than yours as a result of this type of relationship. So very, very well done. I think it illustrates nicely exactly what we're talking about in this topic. We already talked, yeah. So let's talk about some local events and recreational spaces and how you can kind of dig into some of these things to create deeper relationships with people and other business owners in the community. So you want to just share with us a little bit about this tap room and what's going on here?
Yeah, so increasingly, especially when we're talking about suburban redevelopment, you're not only choosing the house, you're choosing the neighborhood and the places that are part of that neighborhood. And so in this particular case, we've got a microbrewery tap room that we shot for an agent, which was his way. He's a new agent, new to market, to break into the market, to introduce himself to the owner of this brewery, which has then led to the listing of this owner's house. He's in the process of downsizing. And so one of our big goals for 2020 is to increasingly capture these important spaces that are part of up and coming neighborhoods, that are part of up and coming communities, to once again be the digital mayor for those communities, to give people a greater depth and a sense. If you imagine how hard it is for an out-of-state buyer to move across the country and get a sense of what a neighborhood's all about using traditional real estate tools, traditional MLS and third-party syndication, there is no depth of what a community is all about, and this allows us to give them a much better idea of what the differences between some of these neighborhoods are.
No, this is excellent. One of the things you always find about these brew houses and tap rooms is that they have raving fans for sure. It's a place where a lot of regulars go. And again, this is an opportunity where when the tap room is marketing themselves and inviting people to come and enjoy their beer, you're getting some passive marketing. Now, you talked to us a little earlier about a relationship that you have with your local church. Tell me about this church. How big is the church, and what are you doing here? And you use some Matterport tags here, so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so once again, this was kind of our first foray into places of worship. And so significant church, we're 60,000 square feet in the main church, 60,000 square feet in the athletics facility, and we still need to get back next year and shoot the rest of the school because these guys have a K through 12 curriculum. In working with the marketing team and the media team at the church, it's been phenomenal. As you can see on the map on the right-hand side, we've got some Matter tags to where they're starting to run their weekly sermons on one of those tags. But more importantly, it's connecting them, or connecting the community to services that they may not have otherwise known existed or may have been apprehensive of tapping into. These guys have a fantastic substance abuse program. They've got a fantastic domestic violence program. They've got all of these different offerings to where if you were to walk into this ridiculously large church, try to figure out where to go to find those services, to familiarize yourself with what's available, or to even get the process started, it would be such an intimidating process. You may not go down that road. And so we're hoping to see some data next year in getting more utilization into some of those services that may have been underutilized in the past.
Sorry, Ryan, can you just right click on one of the Matter? Is the tag available if you mouse over it in the previous slide? Can you actually see what happens in there? Or is that just a static picture? But in any case, you can see the dots on the picture. If you click on it, more information pops up. You can put a description of what's there, or you can include a hyperlink. So maybe the one from the stage, if you click on it, would show you the live feed on Sunday of that sermon. So really cool, great opportunity. And I really think it's spectacular what you've done here, Charles.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to the
again,
next
our
slide.
clientele really appreciates this sort of content.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can't even imagine the number of the people at the church that have shared this. It's got to be incredible.
Yep.
So a lot of what we discussed at this point has been focused on relationships outside of your business. I think you saw a lot of good examples of how you can go use scans of local companies to drive deeper relationships with those companies, as well as to allow them to kind of passively market you while they're marketing themselves. But one of the things that that a lot of people don't think about with Matterport is how you can leverage it for live events. And there's some pretty powerful tools that can be done now when you're hosting live client events as a brokerage, and really use it to drive more engagement in your business. So can we talk a little bit about how you guys are doing that and how this 3D experience is translating into a live event?
Absolutely. In this particular case, the gentleman in the blue shirt is one of our newer agents, and part of our new training and onboarding program is making sure that we're putting iPads into the hands of our agents to download these Matterport tours for offline viewing. And so in the case of this event, this is a a broker's open for a new condo development, or we're having a party in the clubhouse for the development, but the actual condo itself is a golf court ride all the way down to the opposite end of the project. And so once again, our agents being able to walk people through that model home, walk them through our office, the level of engagement was much improved over the other brokerages that were there as part of this event and weren't using the technology to keep the engagement rolling. I mean, big problem when you've got to get 3 people at a time shuffled from one end of a subdivision to the other. Our guys showed up in force. They showed up prepared, and once again, you can see the level of engagement we're getting between that husband and wife and the agent, who are just fixated on a technology that before this event they didn't even know existed.
Yeah, that is one of the things that realtors will often forget is, even though we've seen Matterport for the last couple of years and we've sort of acquainted ourselves with the technology, for most consumers, like, they've never seen anything like this before, and it's really magical. The experience just blows people away. I know, Lisa, you've done some interesting events where you've really focused on relocation and other resources that are available to customers working with agents and working with your company. Can you talk about how publishing some of these things has driven traffic to your website and how it's impacted the relationships that you've formed through this type of media?
I don't know if that's the right question for me. I've talked about the client appreciation event that we've had at the gallery, and then we have the website, and we have relationships with the different visitor centers, but I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I mean, I think for the relocation resources on your website, you've published a bunch of information about the community pages, and you've given people an opportunity to sort of virtually visit those community pages before.
Okay, yeah, okay, I remember now. So, for
Yeah,
example, Originate Natural Building Materials. This is a really great business in town that specializes in recycled materials. And we're planning to have a client appreciation party there, our next one in May, to highlight that business and also to teach our clients the right way to recycle. So it's kind of a combo thing. And yes, that scan is on our 3D website, and we advertise our Tucson 3D Tours website all over the place. We have a Facebook page for it, and we have it on everybody's email signatures, etc. So
awesome. So, Charles, you did something that's really cool. I know a lot of times when you're working at a brokerage, you're going to go to a trade show, you're going to try and find new and interesting technologies that help your agents sell more real estate. And you recently went to Inman Connect in Las Vegas, and you scanned the whole place. You want to tell us what you were thinking there? It's really awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it's funny because you're actually seeing the second scan. We'd scanned it the day before when it was full of attendees, and we had so much face blurring. My brother decided to go back and scan it the next morning before anybody woke up and started to file in. But I don't think there's a better illustration than the illustration on the right hand side here, where you see every one of those red dots represents a conversation that was had between my brother and the vendor at each one of those booths. Every one of them was so excited to see the scan when it was completed. They all wanted a copy of it when we were done. They were super excited to give us the contacts of either a senior level executive or a senior level salesperson within their organization to connect this to their website, to connect it to telephone numbers and email addresses. We now do this every time we go to an event, is document the event. It's great to share it with our agents so they can see what new technologies are out there. Great to show the real estate community that we're involved in participating. But once again, fantastic to continue to grow our reach. I mean, I think we talked to over 30, 40 different vendors at this event. Each one of them took this tour home to their home market and shared it. And so we started seeing web traffic from all sorts of odd places around the country.
And did your agents love it? Did they get to feel like they went and experienced a virtual trade show and were able to go to all the booths?
Yeah, it's one of those things to where at first nobody understood why we did it, and then once it was done, now this is going to be a standard of practice for us moving forward. Because I've got agents that go to the big Sotheby's events, I've got agents who go to NAR, And so we want to start sharing that experience with the rest of the agents at the office, but also sharing that experience with our consumer.
Yeah, trade shows are still a significant investment, and I think that you've taken away information and been able to share the information really to the benefit of your company that nobody had ever imagined before. So, at the end of the day, I think the thing that inspires me most about how you guys have been using this new technology to drive engagement with customers and with businesses in your community, and to be able to allow people to relate to live events that you've participated in to support the community and to market your brokerage, is that um, you're creating an impression, and it's astounding to me that despite all of the options available for consumers to search at property on the internet and all of the opportunities that might introduce that online consumer to a different agent or broker, that there's still sort of this universal thing that that consumers are normally only 3/4 of the time they're only interviewing one agent. So I think for a company to invest in these strategies and invest in these types of communications for their customers really goes that extra mile at making sure that you're the first one interviewed. And it seems to me like all of you must be experiencing this as a result of the efforts that you're putting forth.
Yeah, I would say that's absolutely true.
Yeah. So now you guys have done a few things about inviting people into your locations. Can we show some of those? There we go. So this is sort of the office experience. I'm imagining that you can use this for recruiting, but there's this is an interesting story. Can you share what you've done here?
Yeah, so what's really funny about this is Matterport's been part of this story since before this office opened. It was originally an art gallery. We did a Matterport tour so that we could get the raw space into the hands of the architect and interior designer to actually even create this space. We have a rotating monthly art installation that gets swapped out every month. Once again, it's the only art gallery office in the region. But we've taken this step not just to our office. It's fantastic to send this out to clients so that they know where they're going to be going, where they're going to be meeting, and take some of that apprehension out of the process. But we've now started to do this. We just did this with our title company. And so now when the consumer is getting ready to go to closing day, they're able to navigate the building where the title company is, so they know where to go from the parking garage to the title company, what the reception desk looks like, what the conference room that they're going to be signing in looks like. And it just takes a lot of that, that stress out of an already stressful situation by being able to walk them through. Here's where we're going. Here's who we're going to be meeting. Here's how we're going to get there. And so we're starting to do this. Obviously, we've done this on both of our offices for Sotheby's. We've done this on 2 of our title companies, and we're going to start doing this on our mortgage vendors. So once again, we can share this virtual presence with the consumer at all steps in the process.
Yeah, I really do think this is a bigger differentiator than people talk about. I mean, I remember talking to the chairman of one of the larger franchises in the world, and it was during the last downturn, and they were closing a bunch of offices. And his comment was, we built offices for Easter Sunday, and they were right-sizing their offices, but still their local presence and the way that they executed that strategy didn't diminish the quality of the local service that they provided through their offices in each of the communities. So I think this is great. It really exemplifies the difference between a full service firm and maybe another company that's just working out of their house or whatever. So nice job on that. So now that we've created this great customer experience and unique value, how do you get people to take notice and accept your invite to learn more? We've already covered some strategy around lead gen and marketing automation, but there's another tool that today is often unmatched when it comes to driving awareness to your business. You will really want to just kind of talk a little bit about social media. And Jay, you've done some really interesting things at driving social media engagement through the usage of these tours. Can you just kind of introduce to us some of the things that you're doing?
Sure. So, in addition to the things we're doing on a local level, as far as new businesses, welcome centers, churches, places of worship, things like that, we are actually shooting facilities that we are hosting our own client events in as well. For example, last year, the 4th year in a row in June, this past June, I'm sorry, we had our 4th annual high-end handbag bingo event at the Denton Greater Arts Council facility. And we went in and shot a Matterport 2 weeks before, right about the time the invites went out for this. And everything in terms of our events, for the most part, is driven through social media, with the exception of each person who has an invitee being required to make a phone call to make sure they got the invite. So it's been wildly successful. It's one of our biggest events every year. You know, we have several smaller events that are very similar, but much smaller in terms of the scale and the production and the cost involved. But our high-end handbag bingo is really, really popular. I think last year we had 200 people in the room.
Wow, that's impressive. Charles, how are you guys deploying this strategy on social media?
You know, much the same. You know, what you're seeing on the right-hand side there is I'm calling it a matter short, but it's a quick little 15-second animation that gives somebody a sense of what the property tour is all about, which definitely increases clickability to bring them back to your site to see the rest of the tour. We're also using single 360 panoramic images that we're exporting out of the tour, because when we upload those to social and people view those on their mobile devices, it ties into all of the sensors within the phone. And so now somebody can move their phone around as if they were within that space, and get a really good sense of virtual presence. We're doing it. We've got a builder client that we're under contract to shoot 60 tours next year for him. Huge improvements for them as far as turnout to their events, and just being able to get more people through more of their homes without having to carry nearly the amount of inventory that they used to have to carry in the past. You know, and once again, doing it via social media, getting tremendous reach in a way that they hadn't been able to do previously.
That's excellent. So, you know, just to put things in perspective, here's sort of how all this ties together. I think most of us are already familiar with farming. You know, as you grow your network and your social media plays perfectly into that localization approach, as well as reaching those, you know, far beyond your local area, and people in your community share content with what it's like to live there. Do you guys have anything to add on the importance of real estate farming and how social media and is driving those client relationships and how it kind of ties all of this together? Why don't we start
And
with
I would
Lisa?
just
Go ahead.
offer that
Yeah,
I think it's absolutely critical that you identify your farm market. I mean, you're living off the backs of the people within generally a 5 to 10 mile radius of your location. So make all of your efforts, whether they be within your market or outside of, make them very intentional and non-passive. You know, make sure you do everything with a purpose when you're communicating with these people, and understand that the end goal is really just to have that conversation.
Lisa,
Yes.
do you have anything to add about that?
Oh, about
I mean,
social media and
yeah, just social farming. Are you seeing more engagement with this type of content than other types of content that you guys are posting?
yeah, you know, we're not really heavy into social media at this point. So no, we're not. But it's something that I'm getting inspired to do more of from this webinar.
Good.
We're kind of a new company. Since I started with Matterport and we bought the camera, we started a new Remax franchise. So we're really heavy into startup at this point.
Sure.
And yeah, and we're actually getting ready to hire someone to handle our social media for us. But
That's
yeah.
excellent. Charles, what kind of results are you seeing?
You know, we're seeing a lot better results. You know, it's one thing to shovel a bunch of brochures at people that are out of context and probably out of the right timing than it is to share with them content that delights, entertains, or educates. And so we're creating, you know, a much more social media experience, if you will, by sharing the places that we're shooting, by sharing the events that we're participating in, by sharing, you know, just very dynamic content versus the way that we'd been doing it in the past, which is, you know, here's another listing, here's another listing, here's another listing, and then those listings were just basically dry MLS brochures for a property. You know, there's no reason for somebody to consume that in the, you know, 5 to 7 years between transactions. And now we're sharing not only properties, but events, community spaces that they may be aware of or not aware of. And we're giving them the ability to discover new small businesses through us and what we're doing and creating tours. So in my mind, this is really a game changer to give somebody an experience that they wouldn't otherwise get, and to share quality content versus just the same garbage that your competitors are pushing out every day.
I do have one thing to add. This is Lisa again. We do put out on social media our Matterport tours, but in a little bit different way. We have a single property website available to us through Remax. And when we create that website, the big focus of it is the Matterport tour. So when we post to social media, we post the entire website, which then brings the property to life through the Matterport tour.
Awesome. Well, one of the things that I'm always inspired by is hearing stories of unseen things that have happened, like things that you didn't suspect. So if we can go to the next slide. So can you guys share some experiences where something that you've done along these lines has resulted in a transaction or an opportunity that you didn't expect? We can start with Jay.
Yeah, for the last, well, we've had Matterport now for 4 years. We've actually got a couple of cameras. And for the last 4 years, we have sold, to the best of my knowledge, 8 to 12 homes sight unseen to out-of-state buyers because we had our tours posted.
Wow.
And these are literally uncovered through conversations with the buyer's agents saying, we've seen a spike in this. Why are we having this success with homes that these buyers have never actually walked into before? Oh, they were looking at your virtual tour. They all just refer to it as a virtual tour, but we know they're referring to the 3D Matterport. So it's been awesome, and it's been a humongous selling point, obviously, when you're sitting at someone's kitchen table trying to pitch your wares so you can list their home and sell it.
Excellent.
We've
Charles?
had,
Go
I'm
ahead. Yeah, no, Lisa, do it.
So we've also sold sight unseen with this technology, and actually the agent was our listing, and the agent for the buyer walked through the home when her client was on the computer looking at the Matterport tour, asking her to open cabinets to tell him what was inside because he was buying all the contents as well. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that people should be using this for rentals. I mean, who wants to show a rental property? And you can use it over and over and over for a rental, and people will rent sight unseen really a lot faster than they will buy something sight unseen because the investment is not as big. And also, if your community's like ours, any good rentals are gone in an instant. And you don't really even have time to go see it if you can even get the property manager to let you in because they're so busy. So rentals are a great place to use this.
Charles, have you been surprised by any stories?
Yeah, so we've had some of the sight unseen buyers, but I've had some really interesting takeaways from my agents. One of them at an office meeting a few weeks back had commented on 3/4 of the homes that he'd sold in Laclede, Idaho were to buyers who said that they would never consider living in Laclede, Idaho, because it's just that little bit of extra commute outside of Sandpoint, Idaho. And it was through the use of Matterport tours after they'd looked at a number of homes and they were either disappointed in price or disappointed in square footage or disappointed in quality, to where finally you show them the right Matterport tour and it's like, well, we're not going to buy this home, but let's go take a look at it anyway. And then they get out there, fall in love, and end up buying that home. And I just did this myself with an agent this weekend. We shot a home for a Hollywood producer. He is the producer of Pearl Harbor and of Armageddon. And he's got a magnificent $1.8 million house on acreage that's not in a place that anybody's going to be looking for it. It's in Old Town, Idaho, which even to locals, I say Old Town, Idaho, and they have no idea where I'm talking about. And so a big part of the marketing strategy there is to make sure that we get this Matterport tour, this property out to as many people as we possibly can in other markets so that they can fall in love with the house, because nobody is going to be using Zillow, Trulia, or Realtor.com to look for this type of property where it physically exists on the map, because they're not familiar with all of these little teeny tiny burbs that exist in the outlying areas.
No, that's brilliant. And thank you for sharing. Well, with that, it's been a great discussion. I want to thank our panel for participating. We do have time for Q&A, so we'll if you have questions for our panelists, please enter them into the questions dialog box in the lower right-hand corner of the GoToWebinar control panel.
Sure, I can actually jump in with a few of those real quick. The first one that I see here, just in monitoring, collating the questions here, is whether the webinar will be available for recording. And the answer I can answer quickly is yes to that. If you signed up, you should be getting a recording after the event's over, and this will also be posted on our website to reference back to. So be on the lookout for that. And then I guess I can just tap into a few more questions here. And you guys can take the reins on that. The first one is, what makes Matterport different from other purported 3D or 360 type experiences?
So who do you want to jump in on that one?
Anyone, feel free. First grab.
Yeah, in my mind, they're not comparable in any way, shape, or form. Number one, it's a much more detailed, dynamic walkthrough, especially if you're doing it on a touch device. And so the particular Hollywood producer that we just shot was very adamant that he had no interest in Matterport, and we were going to be doing a video for his house. And it wasn't until I handed him my iPad when we were at his property that he instantly understood the value proposition and how that Matterport tour was going to get more people through his house, which is not anywhere near where anybody's going to be looking for that nice of a property. It's a very immersive experience compared to the other 3D tour platforms out there. And if you're a real estate broker, owner, trainer, manager, the fact that you can download these tours for offline viewing. I've done real estate referral business at 30,000 feet because I've got an iPad that's stocked with all of my company's inventory, to where now we're making it a much bigger push that agents that are working the floor in that art gallery office, which is right across the street from the world famous Coeur d'Alene Resort, that our agents that are working the floor have our inventory on an iPad so that we can share that with the people that walk through our door.
That's excellent. There was a startup that was that had something similar to Matterport, but I believe they went out of business. So I'm not sure that anybody has anything quite like it before. I did try the Zillow app and was very unimpressed with that. I don't know if you guys have messed around with it, but there really isn't anything like Matterport. I think that the high quality and the definition and what they've been able to produce, and now the other features that Gregory and his team are adding into the application, just really make it a standalone product that's pretty inspiring. And I'm really grateful for all of you guys for sharing the ways that you've taken the camera and really put it to use in your community and have driven pretty remarkable results. For those of you on the call that want to look at some great resources on how to do some of these things, I really encourage you to visit matterport.com/resources. It tells you how to do all of this stuff and provides case studies about how other people have used these in the past to create deeper engagement with their customers, to drive more leads to their business, to more appropriately engage with businesses in their community, and to really highlight local events and just so much more. And the results really speak for themselves. So thank you all very much for attending today. For anyone who has more questions about Matterport, visit 888 or visit matterport.com or give them a call with the number that's on the screen here today. Again, we will be recording this and we'll be publishing the recording. We'll send you a link to it via email, and we'll also publish it on retechnology.com.